Hey, welcome to another episode of In the Chute. This is Brandon Carpenter, Hashknife Ranch, and with me is my esteemed technical partner, my oldest son, Calen. And we're going to play a little stump the chump thing, I guess, or he usually surprises me with this. I don't really know where we're coming at, so he'll ask a question or want a perspective, and I'm all full about perspective and my right opinion. So here we go. What do you got, Calen?
Uh, normally I kind of throw you some out there to know what's going on, but this one was definitely a surprise. And the question is, why are we not Cowboys?
It depends on your perspective.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good. That's actually a good cultural question, right?
and that's kind of where I'm going
Uh,
with it because I
yeah,
I
no,
was
I
talking to a
see it.
friend the other day and I was like, listen, you and I know because I got three friends that happen to be females, and we were gonna go to a PBR rodeo, and they're like, hey, I
In
don't want.
Kentucky?
Yeah, there was supposed to be one in Lexington. And I found out it's just an exhibit. Like you go talk to the
Oh,
riders and the bulls.
oh,
And I was like, no,
yeah,
I want you to be able to see what the actual event. So
yeah. They're just promoting is all they're doing on that one.
yeah,
Then, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll get it sometime around because there's supposed to be another one in Nashville or something like that. So not a big deal. But her and I looked at each other, just like, I don't want to be there just to see Cowboys. I'm like, yeah, tracking. You and I know what it's like to deal with Cowboys. And the other two were looking at us like, what are you talking about?
Well, and those guys are rodeo cowboys. I mean, particularly bull riding.
Yeah.
Bull riders are, they're not very big, but they are tough little buggers
Yeah.
and all mouth.
A lot of the times they are, yes.
Yeah, not that's a broad brush, but yes, it's they're I think they're trying to prove their toughness because they're normally little
Mm-hmm.
guys
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting on bulls that, yeah, I mean, arguably are, they'll kill you. We know people have been paralyzed by them.
Yep.
People
I
have been
personally
killed
know
by
one.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So, uh, but the connotation of cowboy is, um, for those that don't know, they're probably just describing you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they mean it as a compliment. But boy, you really cowboyed up.
That's
You know,
like,
you're
I was going to say it's a 50-50 shot a lot of the
well, but it's
times
when
when,
they don't know.
right.
The many and varied cultures within, call it the cowboy culture, if you want to
Yep.
call it that, right? I mean, there's what we are more are horsemen, which is a whole lot different than a cowboy, and
Cattlemen,
cattlemen.
horsemen. Yep.
So there's a to both of those. You'd hope there is a degree of finesse, um,
Yeah.
to, I guess, for the lack of a better word, about how you approach what you do. Um, we're not necessarily, um, we don't do things with a waha, lots of flashy John Wayne, um, approach to things. When we handle cattle quietly, um, gently, we don't baby them. I mean, but they're cattle, and so you got to get something done with them. We're not all about screaming and hollering and swinging a rope over them and beating on them. That's not what we do. We have more of a quality approach, maybe to the interaction with them, because when you do that, you're just going to make them hot, crazy, and don't want to come into corrals. They don't want to work. They're just trying to
Right.
climb out of everything because you've taught them to do that. So, if you can walk into a bunch of cows, well, generically cows, whether it's steers, heifers, older cows, you would handle them all a little differently based on their behavior and how they approach their view of things from their perspective. And there's sex differences, there's age differences in cattle and how you handle them. So you go in there and you do it quietly and you just move around them and you get them to do what you want without a lot of fanfare. Same thing with horses. We are not horse breakers.
Mm-mm.
You know,
That's something
we're
we can talk about at a different time too.
yeah, we're horse trainers or horsemen. Big difference. There's rodeo cowboys, and when somebody calls you a cowboy, if we call each other a cowboy, that means you've done something stupid.
Yeah.
Say,
Listen here,
hey,
cowboy.
exactly. Yeah. Well, you really cowboyed that, didn't you? Which
Yeah.
means, you got a brand new anvil for Christmas and you had it broke by New Year's. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I used to say that about you guys, that we got you boys when you were little. I bought you guys an anvil for Christmas, and by New Year's you had it broke. So
Wasn't too
that's
far from the
cowboy and
truth.
stuff. Yeah. So there's that perspective, but for somebody who doesn't know and they're trying to give you a compliment, okay, you take it
Yeah,
for what it is. I
yeah.
mean, they don't know. They don't know the different. There's many, like I say, lots of different cultures within the ag or cowboy culture, if you want to call it that. So, I mean, there's different regions of how you do things. Different styles, how you dress, different
Mhm.
ways in which you um, outfit your horse.
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of different things that are so different than you can tell. And when you call somebody a dude, I
Oh
don't
gosh.
I don't think anybody can mistake what that is from any one of
Yeah.
our different
I don't
subcultures.
think that's ever, yeah, there's never been any qualm with that one. That's a
No.
pretty negative connotation. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking you were just talking about how there's different appearances and the way they, different subcultures within the Western cowboy type. Because you can come down here over to Kentucky, or I was just recently in Nashville. Was it last weekend? Yeah, I think it was last weekend. And the way guys dress compared to me is significantly different. Now, I wear more flat heeled, really low heeled, walking boots. Really is how
You
people
like
would
those
describe
roper
it.
style.
Yeah, I wear those, my Justins. I love those. I wear those out and about around here because to me, it functionally it's just better for me and whatnot. But when I'm at home, normally I'm wearing the deeper heel, and it's also got a riding heel to it. It's just there's a different aesthetic to it, and there's also a purpose behind it. Where I was out and about in Nashville, and there were a lot of guys. Two things with it. They were dressed very similar to me with the low cut heel. It was more of like I said, like a walking boot rather than a working boot. And then all the guys also, their pants compared to back home tend to be flashier with a lot of like gold threads and stuff like that, more like the girls, which is weird. Yeah.
Oh my
You
God.
and I are used to just regular Wranglers and stuff like that, but theirs was a little flashier. It didn't have like any rhinestones and stuff, but it was definitely like, kind of that gold. I do have a pair just because somebody gave it to me one time, but yeah, they're just got a lot more threading to them. And then the
Dude
shirts,
clothes.
yeah, the shirts were mostly the same, but it was also funny because you would see guys, and this is where also the negative connotation comes in, at least with me, is cowboys, specifically rodeo cowboys or guys who want to be rodeo cowboys. They tend to look you over and really check you out, and they want us to be like, oh, is this the real deal and stuff like that. I'm just like, man, leave me alone. Like I like my ball caps. I don't normally wear a cowboy hat. On occasion I do, on nice occasions, but it's mostly my ball caps just because I've always been afraid of losing my hat. Somehow you managed to keep yours on in the wind. I don't know how. It's just
It's a skill.
it is a skill, 100%. But
You know
they
how you
always
learn
look
that
at me
skill?
wearing them.
Wearing it, and if you lose it and you got made fun of by your dad or your
Oh
grandpas,
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
nothing like peer pressure from your heroes to make you keep your hat on
Yeah.
without touching it.
But that's where the negative connotation with cowboy with me comes from, is a lot of the rodeo type folks, because they're always trying to like test you and one up you, and then they've always just been hard on other people, is what I should say. When I
Well, I mean, you tend to denigrate people or things that you can't do yourself.
mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's my perspective. That's why normally I always like, I'm not a cowboy.
Well, and I guess and that's where I come to. If people talk about horsemanship and stuff, and I said, you want to see the worst display of horsemanship ever? Go to a rodeo.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, they jerk them horses around, and I mean that is not great horsemanship. But that's what they like to do. And some people, that's all they do is rodeo, and that's their thing. And it's like, okay, cool, do your deal. I don't care. That's what you do. So what?
Yep. But I'll tell you what, sometimes cowboys can dance too. So you gotta be on the lookout for that.
Yes, we can. All
All
of
right.
us, universal. If you can't, you're probably wearing them skinny jeans with a gold thread on it.
There you go.
Got a
All right.
friend of ours, and you know him well. I'd show up at his place, and he always wanted to have a straw hat on when he was around. When we come around,
Oh,
and half
yep.
the time he'd have his hat on backwards,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't know it. And like, oh, dude,
Yep.
dude.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyhow, yeah, that's the difference.
All right. With that, we'll put it out to pasture.